Welcome to Pinder Enterprises LLC. I am Danelle Pinder, and I am the founder of Excellence and Ambition and Pinder Enterprises. Today's Grant Writing 101 online training course is Start Strong. Many of the things that we're going to be going over today are very important to the startup process. So you have to get these things done in order to make sure that when you are ready to start writing, we want to make sure that you have your narratives in order, your mission and vision statement is ready, your online presence is on point. We just want to make sure that those things are tight before you start writing for grants. And you'll find out along the way why those things are important. All right. So let's get going. Let's start strong. Again, I'm Danelle Pinder. I started Excellence and Ambition in my home in 2012 with a goal to teach young people how to start businesses. It really was about my children and my little cousins and everybody that was running around my house getting on my last nerve. I said, we're going to do something. And so we started a store in my house that summer, 2012. And, it continues to go on. We've grown since then. We include entrepreneurship, workforce development, performing arts, and we hire 30 to 40 young people year round. We also host summer programs at 2 sites in West Baltimore. We continue to support them through training and resources, and we expand that into mentorship as well. Be on the lookout for the Be More You Retail Project. We're working on getting our first location up and running, and we will host classes and expo type events at our retail location spot. And it's going to be open to all youth from across Baltimore City. So that's me. The steps to success. So we have 5 sessions with 6 steps to make sure that you are ready to continue your grant writing journey. Today, as you can see, we are on the first session, which is Start Strong. It's important to have certain aspects of your organization ready, as I said. Today, again, we're going to be going over your mission and vision statement, your 5 W's and the H in order to write your grant narratives. And by the end of this session, you will know what a grant is and the different types of grants. You will have created your mission and vision statement. You will know your 5 W's and the H and write at least 1 grant narrative while in this session. And you will understand the importance of your organization's online branding and marketing strategy. All right, so let's begin. So what is a grant? You would think this might be a question that people, already know the answer to, but the fact is that not so much. People think that it's just free money that you can just apply for and get and then use it however you want to use it. But the truth is, a grant is a sum of money given typically by the government, a foundation, or a larger organization to an individual or organization for a specific purpose. I'm going to highlight that, a specific purpose. Unlike loans, grants typically do not have to be repaid. There's some caveats to that as well. The fact that they typically don't have to be repaid makes them valuable source for nonprofits and businesses, and definitely researchers like schools and individuals. Specific purpose. Grants are intended to support projects, initiatives, or programs that benefit everybody and make the society better. That's why grants typically come from governments. They come from state, local, and federal governments, private foundations, and corporations, and charitable organizations. And a lot of times these grantors is what we call them. The grantors have a specific thing that they want to alleviate in society. So for our example organizations, I'm going to be using the housing the unhoused. We know that there are homeless individuals everywhere, and so there may be an organization that is built specifically for the purpose of helping house people who are currently unhoused. And so different government agencies, local government, foundations, corporations may come together and say, hey, we want to support that work. And we're going to write it. We're going to have a grant in the amount of $10,000 specifically to support organizations that are doing this type of work, right? And so that's what I mean by specific. So make sure that whatever you're doing with your organization or your business or whatever you're grant writing for, that when you go to the table, you know exactly what it is that you are requesting this funding for. Okay. Grants are usually awarded based on specific criteria, and they're set by the grantor. All right. So you should always look and see in the grant proposal what those criteria are. It may be a specific region that the grantor wants to support. It may be a specific area that they want to support. So in unhoused, and even in the unhoused population, they may not want to focus on housing. They may want to focus on mental health or substance abuse treatment, right? And so if your organization doesn't focus on mental health, or your organization doesn't focus on substance abuse treatment, you really only focus in the area of providing housing, then that grant may not work best for you, right? And so making sure that you read the proposal and to ensure that it's a good fit. So types of grants. There are various types of grants originating from different sources. Primary sources of grants include the government, corporations, foundations, local and state governments. Okay, the types of government grants specifically are federal, like you said, categorical, and block grants. We're about to get into categorical, but I wanted to talk about block grants very quickly. Block grants are very specific to communities. And so when you think about a block grant, you really need this federal funds that are given to states and local governments for broad purposes, allowing the recipients flexibility within certain guidelines. And so it's going to go, like, let's just say it's going to go from the federal government to the state of Maryland, from the state of Maryland to specific areas throughout the state for a specific purpose. And it's typically related to zip codes and anti-poverty work. Categorical. Let's get into it. The sources of grants are categorized by purpose, and that includes research. Like I said, a lot of the colleges and schools that are research-based, they get grants to do that research. Educational. Capital or bond bills, which are specifically created for brick and mortar locations to build out or to renovate buildings. And continuation grants. Continuation grants are those types of grants. Like let's just say you got a grant for $10,000, and then that next year they're going to give $100,000 in a continuation grant because you did so well with creating or with handling that $10,000 grant. Other types of grants include competitive, discretional, and pass-through or cooperative. A competitive grant, most grants are competitive, meaning that multiple people are applying for this grant, and then the grantor is going to decide who they're going to give the grant to. They might choose, let's just say they have 10 grants available, but 150 people apply for that grant, right? And so it's going to be a lot of people, 140 people that are going to be disappointed that they didn't get that grant. Discretional is pretty much at the discretion of the board of that grantor. We recently received a discretional grant. We were featured as the community MVP on WJZ, and a member of a board for a foundation decided that they wanted to send us $2,500 for the work that we do. And so that was at the discretion of that board of directors. Pass-through or cooperative. So a pass-through grant is similar to what we have. We have a lot of organizations that we work with, that we partner with. And so recently we had a grant 4 other organizations with us. So we all came together. We said we want to do this work. They're all organizations are based in the arts. And so because my organization has the longer record, and because my organization has our 501c3 and all of the paperwork in order, we were the lead organization and applied for the funding. We got it. That's awesome. And so our organization is now responsible for making sure that the funding goes to all of the organizations that are involved for the work that they do. So they submit their receipts and their invoices to us, and we make sure that the reporting is done on time, and that we are accounting and bookkeeping for the monies that is being sent out. Grants are distributed or dispersed in various ways on different pay schedules through different methods. So the most common disbursement methods include spend down. Spend down means they give you the lump sum of money, and then again, we're going to keep it at $10,000. We're not going to go crazy. They give you $10,000 and it's a spend down grant. So now you have to submit your receipts and your invoices as you spend down on that $10,000. And typically it could be a monthly report, it could be a quarterly report, or it could be a report that is due at the end of the grant period. And so you have to spend down all that money that they've given you. Let's just say out of that $10,000, you may have only spent $8,000, right? So you have to give back the $2,000 that you did not spend. I use $10,000, but typically, honestly, spend down funding comes at the higher amounts. Once you get into the $500,000, $1 million funding levels, is when spend down typically comes into play. Reimbursable only. So the other 99% of grants are reimbursable only. Especially when you're starting out, your funding is going to be reimbursable only, meaning that you have to have sources for funding, because they're going to reimburse you whatever you spent out. And so if you do know you have a $10,000 grant, right, and this for a year to use $10,000, you have to submit those reports quarterly, and then they will disperse you what you spent in that quarter. Restricted. Restricted means you have to spend the money according to your grant budget. So next week, we're going to do nonprofit budgeting, and you're going to learn about how to create a nonprofit budget, and specifically how to price your line items, right? And so when you submit that grant and you submit that grant budget to that grantor, they're expecting for you to spend the money exactly how you wrote in the grant. It don't matter if inflation happened. It don't matter if it doesn't matter. They want to be specific and tight about how this money is spent. And if you run out of money in one line item, but you need money in another line item, then you have to submit what's called a request for modification. So let's just say you had a grant budget and you needed $1,000 in your supplies line item. Maybe you ran out of that money at some point, but you have $1,000 extra in marketing that you're not going to use. You have to submit that request for modification to move that $1,000 from marketing to supplies. And you have to wait for that grantor. Before you spend that money, you got to wait for the grantor to say, yes, that's okay, or no, it's not okay. If they say, no, it's not okay, then you'll have to find somewhere else to find that supply money. Which again goes back to the reimbursable only situation, where you have to find resources. You have to ask for donations. You have to get out there, maybe create a business within a business to support your nonprofit efforts. Unrestricted grants, to me, are the best grants to receive. And I say that because, yes, you have to report on that money. Yes, you have to, make sure you're submitting all of your receipts and your invoices, keeping your accounting and bookkeeping tight, making sure your reports are done and on time. But it's not as restricted as far as your grant. If you receive a $10,000 grant that is unrestricted, then you can use it for whatever you need to use it. A lot of times people put unrestricted funds in their salary line item because many grants don't support salaries. They'll support other areas of the budget, but they may not support salary. And so when you get an unrestricted grant, a good place to put that would be into your salaries or to take care of your compliance needs, like getting your audit done, because a lot of grants don't support your audit. A lot of grants don't support, certain, once you look at the criteria of the grant and you look at what they will and won't support, you'll see what I mean by that. And having unrestricted funding can help to push you forward when it comes to compliance. Payment schedules can be based in different ways. And so they could be based on the fiscal year of your organization. They could be based on the grantor's fiscal year, or they could be based on when that grantor has their board of directors meeting. I'm going to go to the board of directors one first. As I shared with you, there was a board member who saw us and decided that they were going to want to support us in our work. And so they had a board meeting, and that was in December, where they had their board meeting and we were decided to be a recipient of that grant. Another organization, another grantor that we have, they have their board meeting in August, and they decided that they would support us as well. That was a restricted grant, but the grant application came out in June. You had until the end of July to apply for the funding, and then when they had their board meeting in August, the board decided if they were going to support that organization or not. Then we had another 3 months where we had to wait for the actual funding to come in. So all because the board had their meeting and they said, yes, these are organizations we're going to support, we didn't get the money the very next day. They had to go through the process, and then we still had to wait for the next quarter to receive that funding. When the dispersal is based off of the grantor's fiscal year, it might not align with your organization's fiscal year. For example, the fiscal year for Excellence and Ambition is January 1st through December 31st. That means that whenever we're doing our accounting and bookkeeping, specifically our accounting for our annual reports, our 990, the report is going to be based on our fiscal year. How much did we spend? How much did we bring in during that time period? One of our grantors is the city of Baltimore, and their fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th. And you heard that right. July 1st through June the 30th. And so the quarters don't align with our organization. Our third quarter is in July. I'm sorry. Yeah, third quarter is in July, and it's their first quarter. And so when they send us the grant, they said it confused me because it said this is the first quarter report for this grant. And for me, I'm looking at third quarter receipts because for my organization, we were in the third quarter. And so when you think about that, when you think about the pay schedules and how those things work out, you have to be very organized, especially if you have multiple grants that you're reporting on. And so I had to move those receipts that I had placed in our third quarter that I was charging to the city. I had to take those receipts and those invoices and put them into a different folder that matched the city's fiscal year. I hope that makes sense. And I know that was a lot of information. But you're going to receive the recording, maybe rewind it back a bit. And then for when we do the one-on-ones, I don't mind actually doing some examples for reports and pay schedules. All right, so let's take a break. We just did a whole lot. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a 5-minute break. All right. All right, so any questions about what we have covered so far? If there aren't any questions, you can put them in the chat You can write them within your packet that I sent, the link to the Google Docs folder. There's a document there where you can also write your questions, type up your questions, and type any notes that you would like to share with the group. And then when we come back next week, I'll have the answers to those questions, and we'll comment on the notes that are there. Okay, so if you don't have any questions right here live, then I'm going to move on, and we'll have another Q&A at the end of the presentation. All right, so we're going to touch on online branding and marketing. I am not a professional marketer. Best believe that. I want to shout out Sierra Smothers as my guru when it comes to the marketing world. Also Dawn, D Foster Marketing and Branding. They are phenomenal women, and this is their space. But I want to make sure that you take some time to ensure that your online presence is strong, clear, and engaging. Okay, so make sure that your website looks like the best representation of your organization in the online space. And also make sure that your social medias are being used effectively. Upload at least, if you can't upload every day, at least try to upload once a week. Try to do action shots, like show what you're actually doing on your social media. So that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X if you're still on there. Any of the social medias that you could use. LinkedIn is also great for branding and marketing, especially if you have a service-based organization, meaning you provide a service for fee to support your nonprofit. And this can really be key for long-term success. So having a strong online brand presence is crucial for nonprofit organizations for several reasons. Reason number one, it increases your visibility and awareness. So a well-established online presence helps nonprofit reach a broader audience, and that includes potential donors, volunteers, and participants. You're going to have some credibility and trust. And that lets the funding organizations know they can trust you to do the work that you say you're going to do. And so your online platforms allow for them to see when you're running capital campaigns. They can see when your group is in action. They can also make their donations using those online platforms. And so Network for Good is one of those that we use, and that is the organization that Facebook uses, or Meta. They use Network for Good to accept donations on behalf of nonprofit organizations. The community engagement. People love, if you have a youth-based organization, people love to see their babies on social media doing great things. Community engagement is paramount. So you may not be able to get everybody to come to your venue or come to your event, but the community engagement online could be great. You could have people sharing your materials, and if you are highlighting the people, you're going to share it out. They're going to share your success stories, and it's going to bring people to action. When it comes to certain organization groups, like we're talking about the example of house community, you don't want to show faces, but you want to show action, what your organization is doing to support that group. It's a sensitivity issue when it comes to certain populations and demographics of people. So always make sure that you're being respectful to what those groups may have going on when you're posting. But also try to show what it is that you're doing to give the solution to the problem that you are experiencing or that the community is experiencing. It is cost effective. So when you don't have a marketing budget, we talked earlier about having a marketing budget, but typically when you're first starting out, you're not going to think about marketing as a part of your budget. But you have all these platforms that you can use to promote your campaign. You can host virtual events on LinkedIn. You can go live during your event and activities. Just even if you may have a low turnout in person, but when you go online, that lets more people know what you're doing, so that your next event can have more people there and be more successful. You want to engage your audience. And you can do that better through using social media than with traditional advertising. Of course, you want to keep doing your flyers and getting your flyers out into the immediate community. You want to do TV commercials. That's cool too if you have the budget to do it. But please, please, please make sure your website and your social media is on point. All right, so now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. All right, so in your shared folder, I put the Create Your Impact Statement worksheets. And you can pull that up when you get an opportunity. Once you get this recording, you can have the recording and then also have your impact statement worksheet up and work on it at the same time so that you can, create your narratives. This is we about to start grant writing, y'all. Yep, day one, we are grant writing. And so now that you understand the types of grants and their purposes and how they fund various projects based specifically on the grantor's objectives, we will explore how you can prepare your organization to receive grant funds. We're going to define your 5 W's and an H. Y'all ready? All right, get ready. Your who. You need to write. Yes, write. Who will your organization serve? Consider your demographic and also consider who you will hire to serve your demographic. What is the demographic? Your demographic is your people. Who are the people that are experiencing the problem that you are trying to solve? You want to look at their age. You want to look at their gender. You want to look at their race or ethnicity. You can look at their income level. You can, these are the demographics. Consider, I don't mean look at, but consider these things when you are thinking of who your organization will serve. You don't just have a blanket, I'm just going to start an organization for everybody. I guess, when you think about the environment, if your topic or your subject or your focus is the environment, that is something that helps everybody. But we also know that communities that live on the water are more likely to have erosion. And so your region or your demographic could be specific to a region as well. The people who live in flood areas are your demographic. Okay, so consider your demographic according to what your focus is. The example that we're using along the way is the unhoused population. So that is a demographic that you want to consider. You want to think about people who are unhoused. And the people who are unhoused, you could even go deeper. You could say we serve children who are unhoused, or we serve women who are unhoused. You can say, okay, we serve unhoused individual in New York City. Nail down your demographic and try to get to be as specific as possible. Also consider who you hire. You should hire people within your organization who have a heart for your specific demographic. They don't necessarily have to be in the demographic. It's great when they are, because people who are experienced in these areas, or they literally have the lived life experience, and maybe they've gotten out of that, or they're working their way through the issue or the problem that you're trying to solve. Those are some of the best people to hire, because they have a different level of heart for the work that you're going to be doing within your organization. So, first W, who? What will your organization do? The key is to think about your goals and your future impact. Do not tailor your organization's mission or your what to fit your potential grant funding. You don't want to do that. Whatever you're doing in the community that you're serving or with the demographic that you serve should be genuine to what you feel the solution to the problem is. You may have a grantor say, hey, we want you to provide tents for the unhoused population. We're going to give you money to provide tents. But your focus is to find safe brick and mortar housing for the unhoused population. Are you going to accept the money to buy tents or the tents themselves? Or are you going to say, no, thank you. We really want to focus on getting people into the brick and mortar housing. Don't allow funding to distract you or potential funding to distract you from your organization's goal and what exactly specifically your organization is doing. Where will your organization operate? What region will you focus your energy? You should consider your local government organizations, if it's regional, if it's national, if it's international. Consider where your organization will operate when it comes to your demographic and how they're going to get to you. Because if you are an organization who's focused on the unhoused population or the youth population or the elderly population, they have to get to you. Right. And so if you're able to provide transportation, great. If you're not, then you're focused specifically in a very tight area because you want your demographic, the people in your demographic, to be able to get to you. Okay, so consider your where. When will your organization operate? When you talk about like faith-based institutions, a lot of times we think Sunday, right? Or Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, depending on the religion that we're talking about. But honestly, whether it's a church or a temple or a synagogue, you have events and activities happening throughout the entire week, right? And so even when you're not with your nonprofit organization, think about when your organization operates, your days, your times, your special events, your activities, all of those things when you are planning, because a grant might ask you, about those things. They might ask you for your annual calendar. What activities are you planning for the year? That might be on the grant application that you should already kind of have an idea of when you're going to be doing things, because grantors like to come to events. They like to pop up. They like to come and take pictures if they give you money towards a specific event or activity. So make sure that you write that down in your plan, in your narrative. These last two concepts will help you create your vision and your mission statement. If you don't already have one, I can't assume that you don't have your vision and mission statement, but we're going to go over them, and maybe, you can revamp them, or you might feel like your vision and mission statement is perfect as is. That's cool too, but we're going to go over it a little bit. So why did you start this organization? Why does your organization serve this specific demographic? Find your organization's why. And once you know why, you identify the problem you are solving for your demographic. What is your solution? Why do you want to serve them? What is the problem and what is your solution? The vision of your organization describes what the results will look like once your solution is implemented. So at Excellence and Ambition, we envision a Baltimore City where young people are thriving and positively impacting the future generation. Right? That's our vision. That's our larger vision. What it's going to look like, what the community will look like when we have done the work. The how talks about doing the work, what's happening right now. Vision is future. It's the broader, bigger macro thing. The how is the micro thing. This is how will you serve your demographic directly. Be specific with the programs, the activities your organization will operate. Will you provide an after-school program? Is it tutoring? Is it construction internship? Is it housing? Is it providing tents for temporary housing? Is it like what are you literally doing? How are you helping your demographic? Knowing the problem will help you design the right solution. So you can't assume that you know the problem unless you're in it and you've experienced it. A lot of times people can assume they know the problem, but then when they actually do the research, they find out the problem that they see is just a symptom. It's not the root cause of the problem. And so is your organization dedicated to helping put Band-Aids on a solution of Band-Aids, or is your organization focused on getting to the root? And so either way, how are you going to do that? How are you going to to serve your demographic. You will use your how to determine your organization's mission. The mission and goals may change over time, but your vision should remain consistent. Your vision is the bigger thing. Your how and your mission, your goals is the smaller benchmarks, the things that you are doing along the way to get eventually to your bigger vision. So, quick note. ChatGPT is a lifesaver when writing your narratives and your statements. You can use ChatGPT. You can put in a question and it'll spit out an answer, right? But don't get so caught up in ChatGPT, don't get so reliant on it that you lose your voice, because that is possible. If you use it too much, you can start to just copy and paste from ChatGPT, and that will kind of dilute the passion behind what you're doing. Especially if you're only writing to get money, you're not actually writing to do the work. So we're going to do a quick demonstration, okay? So the way that we would use this prompt is you would type edit, and then you would type in your statement. Okay, so for this example, we're going to use our fake organization that is dealing with the unhoused population. So at ABC organization, we envision a New York City Okay, so I wrote, I want ChatGPT to edit this statement. At ABC org, we envision a New York City where the unhoused population are able to find safe, comfortable housing at low rates. I'm going to put that in. Let's see what ChatGPT gives us. ChatGPT comes back with, at ABC organization, we envision a New York City where the unhoused population has access to safe, comfortable, and affordable housing. Very similar, right? It's just edited to fit what we put into ChatGPT. And so you can copy it, and then you can use it to paste it into whatever document you would like to put it into. And you can use that prompt at your organization name, we envision, where region, where the who are able to do what, right? You can also use this prompt for ChatGPT when making your mission statement. Our mission is to provide your who with your what by your how. So your next statement, your next worksheet that you have access to is track your success. Your impact statements. It's going to be different than your vision and mission statement. Your vision statement should be about one sentence. Your mission statement can get more detailed. Your impact statements, though, you should have at least 3 impact statements. These are 3 paragraphs that describe exactly what it is your organization is doing and will do. What it has done, what it is currently doing, and what it will do. And so I want you to write 3 SMART goals and create a statement or an impact statement for each, okay? What do I mean by SMART goals? SMART goals are specific, measurable, accountable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, I'm gonna say that again, a little more detail. Specific, that means your goal should include your 5 whys, your who, what, where, when, and why. It should be measurable. You should be able to track your progress and make sure that whoever you're helping or however you're helping can be quantifiable. accountable or achievable. You should be able to achieve and ensure that your goals are realistic, and you have people that are able to see what you're doing, right? So you have accountability. Relevant. Make sure your goals align with your overall objectives, values, and priorities. And make sure that these goals are current, because what may have been a goal that we would have focused on 20 years ago is not a goal that we will focus on right now, or the same goal but tweaked a little bit to be relevant to 2025. Time bound. Set clear deadlines for achieving the goal, right? So if it's a short-term goal, then it would be something that you're going to do in the next 3 to 6 months. If it's long-term goal, it's going to be something that you're looking at, in 2 to 3 years. Okay, so make sure your goal is time bound. Okay, so when you're writing your statement, you want to ask yourself some things. What are the results you would like to see? What impact do you wish to make? If you have history, tell your story, and give data points to support that these are our goals, these are what we've done to achieve our goals, and this is the impact that we have made by achieving those goals. The best way to track your success is regularly recording attendance numbers or collecting demographic information about the individuals you serve. We talked about demographic, but make sure that you are actually keeping track of who showed up and when. Okay, how many people showed up today? It's not about this information that you get is quantitative information. So it's how much you're adding up, how many people showed up and how much did they get out of it. If you're feeding the unhoused population, how much food did you buy and how much food did you give away? Okay, how many families did you serve? How many individuals did you serve within the unhoused population? So that information is quantifiable. The grants require you to describe who you serve and to the extent that your organization served them. And so making sure that you are collecting this information along the way will help you when it comes to your grant reports. The grant report is going to ask you how many people showed up and how many people you actually helped, okay? If your organization has already been operating for a certain amount of time, you have some recorded history. When you write your paragraphs outlining your success, make sure you think through those successes. Consider the impact your organization has made. You can track your success using surveys. You can track using Excel documents. Eventbrite is another good one that you can use. So different ways to track. And also money and donations too. Because if you say, hey, we're going to support 50 unhoused people to get a hotel, we need a $300 donation. Every $300 donation supports unhoused family for 2 days, right? And so you get the donations in, and then you're able to count. If you have $3,000 at the end of that, you got 10 donations, right, to support the effort. So grant narratives are detailed paragraphs that describe your organization's activities, your programs, and your overall mission. These narratives provide grantors with a clear understanding of what your organization does, who it serves, and the impact of its work. All right, so make sure that you have your key initiatives, your goals, your measurable outcomes, and you are demonstrating how their funding will be used. Okay, make sure you're telling your story. All of these things together serve as a compelling story, right? That your organization can say how we align with the potential funder. All right. So your pre-work for next week. We wrapping up. We're wrapping up now. Your pre-work for next week. I want you to work on your grant narratives and bring them to the session next week. And we're going to do some sharing out. Okay. Choose 2 questions from the following list. I'm going to show you a list and write grant narratives summarizing your activities. Okay. So that way, the first grant narrative I want you to have, right, is your impact statement that we went over before. your mission, your vision, and your impact statement. That is one narrative. 2 statements and a narrative. Then I want you to have 2 more narratives based on the questions that I'm going to have here for you, so that by the end of this session, you will have 3 grant narratives and your mission and vision statement. And you will have gone onto your website and on all of your social medias to make sure that they are ready for when grantors start to look at your online presence. Okay, so we are working, child. We working. All right, so here are 5 typical questions that are asked on grant applications. Okay, so just choose 2 of them and write a grant narrative summarizing your activity. Grant narrative is at least 3 to 4 sentences. Okay. What is your organization's mission and primary objective? This is important because grantors want to understand your nonprofit's purpose and make sure it aligns with their funding priorities. Number 2, what specific project or program will this grant support? This needs to be a detailed description of the initiative, including your goals, your target audience or demographic, and the expected impact. How will you measure the success of this project? Again, track your success. Funders often ask for clear metrics, okay? Key performance indicators to assess your effectiveness as an organization. What is your project budget and how will the grant funds be used? So next week, we're going to go over nonprofit budget, but you can start, if you choose to tackle number 4, you can start thinking through the breakdown of your costs, including your personnel, your materials, your operational expenses. Okay, and so you can start to really look through and think about the line items of your budget, and you'll get a head start for next week. And the last one, how will your organization sustain this project after the grant funding ends? There is an end to grant cycles. You get the grant, people think, that might be my grant myth. Number 5 is that you get this grant money and it's going to last forever. No, child, that money is going to run out. But you have to have a plan in place. They want to know what's your plan for long-term stability beyond their financial support. Okay, you can get a $2 million grant, right? You'd be like, oh my God, it's $2 million. This is so awesome. We got $2 million. It's going to last forever. No, it won't. But with $2 million, you definitely can set some things in place for your organization to be sustainable over time. Okay, so, and if you can do it with $2 million, you can do it with 1,000. You can do it with 2,000. Think of how you can use grant funding to create long-term stability for your organization. Okay. All right. So, session 1, start strong. Let's do our Q&A. Okay. Make sure you evaluate the session. Give us some session feedback. This first one is start strong. Okay. So make sure that you evaluate the session so that I know any improvements I got to make between now and next week. As I said, next week is nonprofit budgeting. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can put them into the document and I can answer them directly when we come together next week. Thank you for your time and your energy. I appreciate you all. I know that was heavy. We went through a lot of stuff. But grant writing is not for the faint of heart. I think that if you are dedicated to doing whatever it is that you're doing and that you put in the work, that is going to pay off. I know it's going to pay off because it has paid off for me and my organization. And thank you for coming on, and God bless you. Have a great weekend and see you guys next week.